What's up, everyone? This is Jay from Revolution Radio, and I have an important question to ask you. What could bring people together through race, through religion, through party lines? Hmm? I got the answer. Income and equality. I bring this up because of the protests that are going on in Lebanon. Lebanon has a different government than we're used to. Um, they have shared position posts uh, between Shia, Sunni, um, Drew, and Christians. And all of their people together, besides from a few um, Shia supporters of their prime minister, all the other people together, and including a lot of the Shia, but are protesting their government because of income inequality. They are complaining that there's no jobs. They're complaining about corporate greed and corruption in their government. The thing that they most have talked about is that there's a reported $100 billion that has basically been stolen by their government. They pay these taxes, they're not getting anything in return. Um, the Sunni Prime Minister, Saeed Nair, he, um, he, he shows support for the people, but he has apparently been on this line before where he's promised these reforms and he's shown the support and he said, I support these people in their protests and you guys should have all the power in the world to do it. But he never changes anything. And that's what a lot of the protesters are talking about. The government just keeps promising reform, but all they end up giving us is more taxes. And that's it. Hey, we're gonna fix things for you. Here's a bill. And they never get on the right track. The entire Lebanese protesters want all of their government officials to step down. When Saad here, the Sunni prime minister, when he made that declaration to promise reform and support, the supporters responded by saying, "No, you're not going to do it. We want you to step down." That's the answer. They've been in this situation. These government officials, all of them, have been in this situation for about 15 years, ever since um, the end of their civil war. And on the other hand, the Shia prime minister, he actually took a different take on the whole thing, and he says that it's a fake coup, that this is from outside influences. These protesters are being riled up for no reason except for to cause such destabilization in the government that their country is an easy target and can be taken down. But regardless, that's the protest in Lebanon, which honestly, anything that could break those lines of religion, race, and political lines, it's really important. Their big cause is income inequality. They don't have the jobs, they don't have the voice, they don't have the power, and when it's all said and done, I think they realize that that's worth crossing those lines so that they could get some change done. It's also interesting to note that the Lebanese protesters, they they have their protests in a different manner as well that I think is really interesting. Most of it is like a carnival. Um, these like a lot of music, a lot of dancing, and don't get me wrong, during the day it's definitely there's a chanting that goes on. It says "all of us," and it's very serious and it's very to the point and pushing for reform, pushing for change, but to keep everyone together and to understand that you know you're from a different religion than me, you're a Christian, I'm a Muslim, back and forth. The way they keep everyone together is through singing, dancing, and music, and kind of having more a of a party atmosphere. So I think it's really cool. On the other side of the world, in Chile, there's really bad protests going on. Very serious, very dangerous, almost the exact opposite of what we're seeing in Lebanon. So far, 17 people have been killed. Um, Over 1,000 government soldiers, employees, enforcers, however you want to call them, have been injured. We saw video of the Chile military running over the protesters, shooting guns at them. It's gotten very dark. And what is Chile's big complaint? Income inequality, essentially. They complain that they don't have access to affordable health care, that the that their pensions and that their wages are too low, and that the government only provides care to their large corporations. Because Chile is a little different as well than Lebanon, because Chile was kind of the beacon of South America um, as far as uh, wealth goes. It was kind of noted to start doing well financially, but just kind of like in other places around the world, it wasn't the people who were doing well, it was corporations that were doing well. And we can kind of see that the reason why is because the government was helping the people, or helping the government, helping the corporations. I'll get it right one of these days. But they were giving them sweetheart deals, they weren't taxing them, and they didn't push up a minimum wage, and really exploited the workers and allowed them to do so. So most of these protests in Chile come from this. Now, their billionaire president, he spoke to the people, and he also promised reform, higher wages, higher pension, a more affordable health care, and the thing that sparked this was a transit hike. And he said that that tax will not go into effect. The people are still saying it's not enough because I think they understand what's going to happen. That they'll promise it so you forget about your problems, it'll go away, but meanwhile they're still going to do the dirty things they do behind closed windows, closed doors, and that's what we see all over the place. Now, Haiti has the same kind of protest going on. Iraq has the same kind of protests going on, and so does Ecuador. There's a few other places around the world that is also starting to show signs of this being a problem. Now, if you are saying to yourself, you're listening to this and you're from the great United States of America, and you said, well, we don't have affordable health care. Our wages are low. The government's always helping the corporations. Yeah, yeah, trust me, it could happen here. We're on the verge of it happening here because all those problems, those are our problems as well. And a lot of times when the economy is doing well, people don't really point this stuff out because usually the economy is doing well enough that the majority of us are able to squeak by. You know, we're not buying new houses and cars, but we're getting some money, we're feeding our family. Maybe, you can buy a wrestling event or something, whatever. But when the economy starts stalling out, and we say, well, what the hell? I thought we were making all these sacrifices so that we wouldn't have this problem. And then you find out, well, the economy was actually falsely inflated to get the rich richer, and now they sold out everything. The economy comes crashing down, and we're the ones who are screwed by it. We didn't benefit from it, and we're not, and we're definitely even screwed harder by the outcome of what they did. And trust me, those Donald Trump tax cuts that led to stock buyback, yeah, that's starting to come back to bite us in the ass. The tariffs that we did with China, and more so importantly, the things that we need to look for is healthcare, universal healthcare. That will help a lot. There's a lot of people who pay a lot of money in health insurance and education. See, one reason why we lose a lot of jobs to China is because they have a higher education level than we do on average. About 70% of men do not have a college education. And working class men. Yes, there are caveats in there, but about 70%. Meanwhile, in China, they're forced to go to college. You know, putting together a cell phone here is kind of a hard job for us. That's what they do all day, every day. I'm not saying that we're not smart enough to figure it out. We could, and we could learn the step by step, just like putting together a car. But we don't know how to fix them. We don't have the technical skills. Our high schools have gotten even weaker and weaker. It's more since No Child Left Behind, and even, you know, the SAT markings in general have led to this: get a good test score and we'll push you along. But you don't really learn anything, and you're not really tested. You're not really pushed on what you can know and what you absorb and what you memorize. But in all together, we need to do something about changing the gap that's in America. Because all these other countries I talked about, they are really, really high, like top 10 in income inequality. Number one is China. Number two is Mexico. Number three is the United States of America. We're even worse than Chile, Lebanon. And if I was a representative, a president, someone with power, I would really be paying attention to what's going on, because when they say it can't happen here, this is one of the things that they're not thinking about, because this can happen here. And if we don't change things, it will happen here. If you look at since like 1976, the gap between the rich and the poor has grown exponentially, getting worse and worse every year, to the point that the richest, the CEOs, have more than 200 times their amount that they started in 1980. To someone now, we're 3 times the amount. A worker, a blue collar worker, makes 3 times what they made in 1980. CEO makes 200 times what they made in 1980. I mean, that's not even close. When you figure in GDP and production and uh, increase in cost, the average worker, minimum wage worker, should be making about $21 an hour, in between 19 and 21. There's been a contest on which way it was, and yeah, I'll go with either side. Not 7.25 or 7.50, whatever it is. No, $19, and that's not entitled. It's not. No, it's what it actually should be statistically. Now, I hate the shame I hear when we talk about raising the minimum wage. Well, minimum wage jobs are for people in high school. Doesn't matter. That's our system, like it or not. And for decades, we've been letting this standard drop. We have to rise that standard. We just have to. And it should be $19. You're not a socialist if you demand for capitalism to work how it's supposed to work. You're not a socialist for deeming that the government takes a little bit of their money that they're spending on crap that they shouldn't, and get health care for everyone. These are not crazy ideas. Free education. That's not insane. But we have to do something, because, as I said, as a person, uh, like a president, like a senator, I'd be looking around the world and I would say, okay, we need to do something. We need to work on this income inequality. We need to work on the wealth gap and tax people higher. We need to build more infrastructure. We need to educate our people. We need to get back on track. We need to take 4 years of we're just going to focus on the middle and lower class. That's it. We're going to do everything we can for 4 years to help this group out. And it'll make a huge difference. Instead of always wondering just how they can swindle us out of our money, how they can help their rich buddies. If they could just focus it would make a world of difference. But who knows? Anyway, that's what I got. Curious what your thoughts are about income inequality and situations that we are in America. Please like, subscribe. YouTube channel is Community of Ideas. On Facebook, I'm Jay Dillon, JC Show on Twitter. And everywhere else, just search Revolution Radio, and you'll find the daily podcast and the big show. iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, all those places you'll find us. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great weekend.